Good evening. You are watching The Learning Tree. I am Richard S. McGhee, and I have with me some very interesting people who come from Brazil, who now live in this country, and we're going to talk a little bit about what they do, how they do it, how they got here, why they're here, and what is Brazil all about. As we all know, Brazil is going to be the host of the 2016 Summer Olympics. So we should have a little discussion about that as well. Starting on all the way across the desk, on my right, we have Karina Perozin. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Next to her, we have Wanderson Braga. Is that right?
That's
all
right.
Next to him, we have Eduardo de Oliveira.
That's
Is that right? And then next to him, we have Abner Silva.
That's correct.
That's right. I got it all right.
That's it.
Even though I read it, and I got it all right. You know, I was disdaining reading until I watched a few CNN programs where they not only read them, they flash them up so everybody can read them. So I don't have any problem with reading anymore. Abner, starting with you, since you're the closest to me,
Let's go.
tell a little bit about you.
Well, today I'm a tax preparer,
Okay.
work in accounting
Uh-huh.
over in Everett for a company called Tax Brothers.
Okay.
Came to the U.S. in 1990 when I was 6 years old. My parents are
Right.
pastors.
Okay.
They were sent here because of the Brazilian community, the
No?
Portuguese-speaking
What denomination?
Assemblies of God.
Okay.
Yeah, they were sent here through the Assemblies of God.
Okay.
Since 6 years old, I grew up in Medford.
Uh-huh.
And Medford boy who grew up there. Today I'm one of the assistant pastors over at my local church in Everett.
You're also an
Assistant
pastor.
youth pastor.
Okay. All right.
And that's
So
pretty
you
much
didn't have
it.
anything to say about whether you came or not.
Well, when I came, I
At
was
6 years old, I
at
doubt
6
that you had a
years-
voice on the subject.
well, I had no other choice. When my parents came, they said, "Listen, you get in on the plane. That's it."
How's your life been since you've been?
It's been good. I grew up in a diverse family. My grandfather was black,
Uh-huh.
a white kid, blonde hair, blue eyes. My grandfather telling me all the time when we would visit him in Brazil, put me in his back, walking in the streets, people look at us. Listen, that doesn't make any sense.
doesn't
No, but
doesn't measure up.
what the values my grandfather taught me was basically what bestowed inside me that it doesn't matter where you come from, how you look,
Mhm.
what your race is,
Mhm.
you should always treat people equally, no matter what.
Mhm.
And that's what really gave me the sense. Listen, people in Brazil, I might not grew up there, might not have grown up there, but everybody's equal, and the equality is basically one of the main keys of having diversity.
Good.
At the same time, having values and keeping those values.
You have relatives back in Brazil?
Yes, I have many of them.
Uh-huh. Okay. Do you ever have an interest in going back to Brazil to live?
No, I don't.
No?
No.
Don't
Like I
be
said, I'm a
equivocal. Don't be
Medford boy.
equivocal now. Just come on, speak right out.
I'm a Medford boy. I grew up in Medford, Italian community. There's no way I can see myself in Brazil just because I've been here so long, and
Right.
I'm Brazilian born, but American at heart. So
I understand from a previous show that we did that there are regions where the population is very dark in Brazil.
Yeah.
Right. What is that region?
Northeast,
Yeah, okay.
places like Bahia.
Right.
yeah,
And then the rest of Brazil is kind of mixture.
it's a
Yeah.
mixture. Like especially in Rio, like
Right.
Rio is basically it's very mixed. Being born in Rio.
Yeah.
You see, like I said, my grandfather was black, white kid.
Mhm.
You know,
Okay. And Miss Karina, tell me a little bit about you. Tell my audience a little bit about you.
Okay, so currently I work here in Sudbury, in BMW of Sudbury.
I have a little
was-
trouble hearing you.
I was brought to the United States when I was 2 years old by my parents.
Mhm.
I've been living here ever since 19 years. In 1997, that's when we came. basically, like Abner said, I had no choice. We were here brought very young, so it's not like it was an option for us. We came here and we instantly lived in Somerville and then Medford for a couple of months. My uncle was a pastor of a church there until he moved locally to where we live now ever since Marlboro. And I go to college now, and my life is pretty much all here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's the best part of your life been since you've been here?
Basically, I would never see myself living in Brazil again, because my life is here. I've never met my other side of the family.
You ever what?
Never met my other side of the family.
Oh?
Like my grandparents or anybody that we left there. So it's been many years since we've gone back. So ever since I've lived here, this is my home. This is what I learned to call home.
You've never been back to?
No. I maybe to visit sometime soon, but never to live there.
Yes. Would you like to go back? Someday, maybe?
Maybe someday, but not right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And Eduardo, tell us a little bit about you. Let me tell them a little bit about you. Eduardo was kind enough to send me a little information on himself. Eduardo is used to be a reporter,
Right.
who now hosts a couple of radio shows, who has done some interesting work in journalism, who is going to be our historian today. He didn't know that yet, but so Eduardo, tell us a little bit, my audience, a little bit about you, other than what I've told already. If you want to tell the specific programs that you host.
Sure. So I come from Rio as well, and I came when I was 26. I had a better idea of what I wanted to do here. I came to go to school. I used to work on third shift cleaning the school so I could go to school and not pay tuition. I went to New Hampshire first, and then I moved to Framingham, Mass. In 2009. I went to Harvard Extension at night. I worked there at the museum, Harvard Museums. I went to Harvard Extension at night for communications. And then I started to stream for the Globe, the Boston Globe, doing some work for the Brazilian community. I covered stories like the woman who did plastic surgery in the basement of a home in Framingham. I was the one who broke that story at night, 1 in the morning at night. And then the next day I couldn't do a follow-up story because I was working at the museum and other reporters were doing. I feel very grateful for the opportunity of being here. I used to work for UMass Boston as a health reporter. I also wrote a column for the National Telegraph when I lived in Nashua, New Hampshire. It was a bi-weekly column. We usually talk about immigrants. And then I moved to radio. I fell in love with radio, actually. And radio is really powerful. I do a couple shows a day, one from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., and the second one from 3 to 5 p.m. They're daily, Monday through Friday. We talk a lot about politics. We talk about immigration. We help the community. We see now there are a lot of people are coming from Brazil right now. So we open up the mics and people talk to us live. So that's what I do right now.
Okay. And you've enjoyed your stay in the country. You don't plan to go back to Brazil either, huh?
I would like to go back someday.
You've never been though so far.
I've been once. It's pretty hard. Like you get used to all the things you have here, and when you see your country not a good shape, and also because of the moment of politics in Brazil.
Yeah, where's your domicile now? Where do you live now?
I live in Framingham, Mass.
Okay, you're not in New Hampshire any longer.
No. I lived in New Hampshire from 2000 to 2009, Nashua, New Hampshire.
Okay, yeah. My daughter used to live in Nashua.
Oh yeah?
Her husband was an air traffic controller at the center there.
Yeah, it's a nice city.
Yeah,
I like it.
she has now moved to Atlanta. But Wanderson,
Yes, Richard.
the last but most certainly not the least, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I came to the country, United States, in 2004 when I was 17 years old. I didn't speak a word of English. I went to Natick High School, where I graduated in 2007. But like my other guys here, the Abner and Karina, they didn't have a choice to come here, but I had a choice. I didn't want to come at all. My mom, like, she forced me to come. Because all my friends were there. I was 17 years old. I was finished college there, and I want to stay there. But my mom said, no, let's go. Because I was starting doing something like a little stuff like wrong stuff there. So my mom says, let's go to America. Because my sister was living here, and she was having a baby. So my mom came to help her out, and she brought me here. And since then, I've been living here, and I love this country. I don't want to go back. I know that's the question you're gonna ask me, but I want to answer right now. So far, at this point in my life, I don't want to go back to Brazil at all. I like Brazil. That's where I was born. So I have some parents there, some family there, but I don't want to go to live there anymore. I think over here it's has everything that I need, and in Brazil it's far away from what this country has.
What are you doing now?
I work in have a landscaping company and construction company. So I work locally in the areas like over here and Natick and all those areas here. I opened up the company in 2008, and since then that's what I do for a living.
Okay. Back to you, Eduardo. Let's talk a little bit about Brazil. What's the current population of Brazil?
About 200 million.
200 million. And what's this racial makeup?
What do you mean? The mixing?
Is everybody, unlike this country, you don't have that melting pot effect? You don't have.
Oh yeah, we do have. Brazil, compared to the United States, we have a lot of similarities too. We are a country of immigrants as well, especially for the South. We have a lot of European immigrants. I'm married to a lady who is descended from Italians. I actually came to this country to save a love and found another one. I mean, I was losing my girlfriend in Brazil, and I came so she could come after me. The idea of living here was from my girlfriend. That was her idea. And then I came, and she came afterwards. She had a daughter, who was not mine. And she stayed for a couple months, and she moved back. Now I found another girl, and we got married. Brazil has a lot of good potential things as well, but right now it's pretty troubling what's going on there in politics. A lot of corruption. We don't know who to trust anymore, and the parties are so corrupt and all sold to the big interests. And we follow that doing the coverage on the radio, and we see a lot of controversial ideas. People are polarized, If you like this person, you're not a good person, or if you like this politician, you're not a good person. So we debate about that on the radio to point people to a direction of understanding where the others' ideas come from. So we do a lot of debates on the radio today.
So back to my first question, what's the racial mix?
The diversity?
Yeah.
We have, I could say, more than half are non-white now in Brazil.
More than half are non-white.
More than half are non-white.
Okay.
Either African descendants or mixed.
Okay.
And about 51% are women. More than half are women. I would say, talking about poverty, we got better, but we have a long way to go, a long run to go. We have some social programs helping people, and that's also a target of accusation about how they are, not doing that properly. Like people who shouldn't be receiving money from the government are receiving, and actually the new government is trying to review those allegations now, go further in investigation. But Brazil has potential, a lot of things to do. We just had the World Cup, the soccer World Cup over there, and a lot of stadiums being constructed, people took money away from the construction.
Mm.
So we see scandal every day in Brazil. Every day there is a little new thing to know about how politicians work, right?
Oh.
That's correct.
Yeah, Abner, you have an input here?
Yeah, like he said, the social programs there, I myself personally was affected by it because back in, I believe, 2010, I think in Rio, where there was massive landslides, and my two of my aunts and a cousin of mine were buried alive.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was back
Were they
in...
rescued or did they die?
No,
Did
they
die?
passed away.
Oh,
They passed away.
Okay.
And it was my grandmother's house. My grandmother survived the landslide. It pushed her out of the way, so to speak. But my two aunts and my cousin passed away because of it. And what basically drove me mad about the social programs there was that they were offering the people that had their homes affected by the landslide 650 reais as a rental. Like,
Now, this is the denomination of the money in Brazil.
yeah.
What is it again?
It was the
No, what is the name of the
Reais.
reais. It's
Spell-
the currency.
spell that,
It-
yeah.
It's reals. So REALS.
Okay,
So
that's like
so
the
it's
dollar.
the dollar amount of at that time was probably, I think it was at $2, so $300, about $315 a month to pay a rent, and
That's it?
that was pretty much it. 650, and you cannot pay a rent with that amount.
No,
The favelas,
When
I
you
think
said
it's
315, is that dollars or in
dollars.
your local,
300
local currency?
Local U.S. currency, it would be like $315
a month.
to pay for rent.
A month.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in at 650 reals, which is their currency there, you can't even rent an apartment, a one-bedroom apartment, at any favela.
Right.
That's the thing that would make us
Yeah.
like mad about Brazil. You know, those little things, corruption and everything. It scares us that are here. That's why
Yeah.
we don't want to go back.
Yeah.
Those things.
Overall, I think it's a pretty good country. Like, it's tropical, it's beautiful, but I just think if the law was more like the United States, things would flow a little bit more easier.
Sure.
Like, if the system here was the same system there, it would be a lot easier
Right.
for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Brazil's a new democracy, right? So we had our constitution written in 1988. So it's about 30 years, right?
Yeah,
So
right. Yeah.
there's a long way to go.
Yeah, my parents telling me like about during the dictatorship times it was like this and this. Nobody would do this and this. But if you compare the dictatorship times there with what would be equivalent here, it would be like martial law.
Right.
So imagine martial law here in the U.S. That would be
No, we
crazy.
can't go back to
We
that.
can't go back to that. It's
It was military dictatorship.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, so it would be equivalent to what would be a martial law in the U.S. Imagine martial law, like tanks running down like on Faneuil Hall and stuff like that. It'd be crazy.
Yeah, I ran into that in Guatemala a few years ago. What's the government like? What's the structure of the government? You say it's a democracy?
It's
it is a democracy. It's pretty much based on what we had back in the 80s, what we saw in this country, in America, but with adjustments. Constitution is huge, like 200, 300 pages. But they try to do the right thing, but what we see now is that, for example, a lot of construction companies pay the government to do the service they should do anyway. So, for example, they have a stadium to build, they advance money to this political party, and instead of the construction being valued as 100 million, let's say, for example,
Okay.
so it will be 130 because the construction company advanced 30 million to the political party, and then the 130 would cover that first 30 million.
Yeah.
And that's not one party.
It's everywhere.
How many
Everywhere.
parties are there?
The Workers' Party was the one that kind of professionalize the crooked way of doing things.
Mhm.
But they are the ones who are doing. And that's why we don't see a lot of opposition politicians saying the stuff we need to hear,
Yep.
because maybe they did too. They did as well.
That's
you
true.
know, so
Yeah.
so we're going through that right now, which is important for a country to learn not to be fooled again. You know, in the future for the politicians. Now we have an interim government, right? Temporary.
Why do you have an interim government now?
Because the
We had an
president
impeachment.
was impeached, but we are in the process
Was
of
the president a female?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jill.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
Jill.
okay.
Yeah.
She was impeached for,
But we're in the process of taking her out indefinitely, like permanently.
okay.
So that's why we have like interim.
How long
government
was
now.
she in office?
For one mandate and a half, 6 years.
6 years, okay.
Yeah, she got reelected and everything.
Right.
And why was she impeached again?
That's complex. She was impeached because of she used money from federal banks in advance and took a long time to pay it back, and that was considered not
This was personal
legally.
use.
Not personal
Oh.
for the program, for the social programs, but
For
Right.
her pet programs.
yeah,
Favorite
to win
program.
the
Yeah.
election,
Right, right.
things like that,
All
like huge programs, like
Okay.
for millions of people.
Yeah.
Which for some people were good, but the way she did it was illegal in Brazil.
Do you have a legislature?
Yeah, oh yeah. we do.
What's the legislature like? Is it
It's
two houses?
two houses, Congress,
Yeah.
Senate, and the House of Representatives. And the other funny thing is that they copied things from America, politics-wise, but they make it bigger. For example, we have 50 states here and 27 states in Brazil, but our Congress is much bigger. Or our Supreme
What's
Court
the
here,
size?
9 justices. In Brazil, 11 justices.
Okay.
Over there we have 513 representatives, congressmen and women.
Okay.
So it's all to,
How many in the Senate?
the Senate is 81, 3 per state.
Okay.
Here we have 2 per state. So
Yeah.
over there in Brazil, 3 per state.
Yeah.
So we see that, and that happens on the local level as well. You know, our councilors over there, a lot of people are stealing money. So we see now that people are not trusting in politicians anymore, but we have no other way.
I think it's sort of hard for you to trust the politicians there, especially after during natural disasters, where you see a country like Japan going through a major tsunami. In 3 years after the tsunami, you see all the major highways back in working order. Everybody that donated money towards Japan, any funds that were not used, the country reimbursed every single person
Is that right?
In Japan.
in Japan. Where you see, if that was in our country, I think, hey, there's money left here, let's put it somewhere else. And like Eduardo said, you see soccer stadiums being built, you see a lot of stuff being built, and they have a scheduled time to build it, and they don't meet those standards.
No.
They never meet the right time. Like I was recently in Brazil and back in December, and I told my uncle, listen, let's go to the Maracanã Stadium. I want to see the new stuff that they did. And he's like, there's nothing. I'll take you there, but they did a couple things here in the front. They changed the seats. There are a couple of public parks that that they built. One of them was done, but there was supposed to be 3. So it's
Where I came from, which is the state of Mato Grosso, which is close to Amazon, the stadium there that they built, I heard that it's supposed to be like $300 million reais.
yes.
And then at the end it was 800, so it was 500 million more, and it was not done properly. So right now when it rains, the water floods there and everything, and we don't have a team, like a good team over there where I came from. They state that where I came from, so they don't really use it. So they spend all the money.
What kind of sport was it built for?
Soccer.
Soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's not multi-purpose.
no,
They couldn't do baseball.
no, just for soccer, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know why they built that. So it's kind of that's why they all this money.
Now, are we
don't
talking
know
about
where it
$800
go.
million or 800 million?
Reals.
Reais.
So it would be
Yeah.
equivalent to about, at that time,
Three-
probably $400 million
You know, in dollars.
in
Yeah,
dollars.
In dollars, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be 300. It's supposed to be like 150.
Yeah.
But the key thing, as he mentioned, in his state, they don't have the state traditional soccer team.
We don't have that.
So
yeah.
they didn't need that there.
Yeah,
And we have huge stadiums, but we don't have hospitals.
Yep.
exactly.
You know, good schools.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
They
it's
built
really
they built the whole stadium for the World Cup,
Yeah.
and they only played 2 games there. Only 2 games.
So you basically spend $400 million on a stadium that's never going to be used when you have hospitals that need
Right.
attention, you need education that needs to be elevated to a new level. And those are one of the frustrating things that really tick a lot of people off.
You know what's happening right now is social media. I know people talk a lot about how social media spread rumors and everything, but at least people see what's going on and debate about it. I see a lot of people in Brazil debating about all these things that we are mentioning here, and it helps people see how other people from other states
Yeah.
think, even from here. We in the community, Brazilian community here, we talk a lot with people in Brazil right now, and actually now a lot of people coming, so we're trying to help. And so social media has opened people's eyes, like spread the debate around.
Yeah, but what does it do? What does it know? Is there any payoff to that, or
Well,
is it just information that absolutely cannot be used for any valuable purpose?
no, first, people are getting news from social media as well, which for some part is
It's
somewhat troubling.
educational.
But it is like you can't say that you don't know that politician or the other one, because people are talking about that all the
Yeah.
time now. So it enhanced the curiosity and also the knowledge of people didn't have before that.
But it doesn't promote action.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. Like people, they talk about how they're going to protest in that city or that street, and they get together through social media. It's helping. It's helping.
How are elections done? Are elections democratic?
Yes. We have one vote per person, right? Like individual
Yeah.
vote.
Yeah, I think in Brazil what matters most is the popular vote, right?
Right.
They don't have an electoral college like we do.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Yeah.
the popular vote who basically determines.
Totally popular vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but they have other complex rules. Like for the party, you vote for the person, but you need to have a certain amount of vote to elect. For example, in São Paulo, a congressman, state representative, needs 120,000 votes to get elected.
One person.
One person.
Uh,
If one person, like we had a clown,
Oh yeah.
we had a clown who was elected with 1,300,000 votes. A
A
clown.
what?
He was the
A
most
cow.
A
voted.
TV clown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A TV
So
guy
it
who's
was kind of
basically.
a protest vote,
Yeah.
right? Protesting against, the population. So 1,300,000 votes. This clown who was elected, he got 5 other people elected from his party, which was not well known because he split the vote. In Brazilian rules, it is possible to do that. So we got a lot of not so well known new politicians because he.
Yep.
He
And
had
the person
power.
he's talking about, and he was this guy who was a TV clown, who didn't know how to write, barely knew how to read.
You said cow. You said clown.
Clown.
Clown. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Clown. So he basically didn't know how to read, didn't know how to write, and was elected to public office. So,
One of the teams, like he was like doing a commercial, like 15 seconds,
Uh-huh.
and then he said like this: "You want to know what a congressman do in a Congress? Vote in me, and I will tell you afterwards because I don't know either." and then he got 1 million. So
1 million
it
votes.
was
In
like
São Paulo.
it was like a protest. Like people was protesting. They like, I'm gonna vote for him because Brazil is like.
How does something like that happen, though?
it-
Karina, you were getting in this
He's probably one of the most honest people there.
But he got re-elected.
Yeah, you got
He got
reelected.
reelected again.
So protest was the
Got
first
re-elected?
time.
Reelected? You probably one of the most honest people there. Who knows? Who knows?
He goes to every meeting in Congress. He does everything, but he's not prepared. He's not well suited for the job.
Not intellectual.
Huh?
Not education and intellectual.
No.
Yeah, but it's not only that. It was making fun of politics. You know,
Yeah.
it was not appropriate.
But people, instead of voting blank, they
Yeah.
start, I'm going to vote
It's
for
one
him.
thing to get elected, is to get reelected.
Yeah.
That says a lot about the electoral,
Right.
the people who are
He's
doing
not
the
a
election.
bad person. He's just
Yeah.
not prepared.
Not
Be that.
fitted for
What
the
about
job.
action groups? You have action groups, people who stand up against the government, or stand up against what they think is not right going on in
Some parties. right?
local, or
We do, mostly connected to parties, political parties.
is there a penalty to pay if you become an active
No.
person?
No,
An activist? No.
No.
There's no penalties like over here.
no.
Yeah.
But you don't have any active groups.
We do. But for example, we have groups related to how do you say sindicato? I forgot the word. Related to workers, leaders,
Uh-huh.
right? And this group is mostly related to the Workers' Party. So people who don't align with the Workers' Party don't go to these groups. And as we have at the opposition side, other groups that the Workers' Party don't get together. So
That's
Uh-huh.
true.
mostly linked to parties.
Uh-huh. So things just go through the legislature, and no one really questions it. So
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. I think people are getting more interested in politics right
Involved, yeah.
now. They're more involved.
That's true.
what's the medium income in Brazil?
The other day I was watching TV and they said that it's about 2,000 rios per month, which in here would be now is 3.5 rios for every dollar. So it would be about $600 per month.
Here.
Medium income.
Okay.
Yep.
And where do most of the people live in Brazil?
Most on the cities.
A lot of Brazil is forest, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still, yeah.
All right.
The Amazon
What,
part, yeah.
what areas of Brazil are the most populated? What part of that whole map?
So I think
And
Fine.
the coast,
Southeast.
yeah,
Where?
south and the coast, right?
Southeast and the coast.
South.
I think São Paulo is like almost 30
Yeah,
30 million.
people, yeah.
And which is the largest city?
São Paulo.
São
São
Paulo.
Paulo.
And what about Brasilia?
Brazil is the capital. It was built in 1969, but
It's a
in
brand
the middle
new-
of the
brand new
country.
town,
Yeah, it's
city.
sort of new, but yeah, a lot of population as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's growing.
Okay. Do you know anybody that lives there, or anybody who's come
No,
from
I've
there?
been there once.
Yeah. How is it in comparison
In comparison to what?
to your town, where you lived?
Well, when I went there, I was 13, so I don't recall many details. But I know by talking to a lot of reporters that you know it grew. A lot of suburbs now in Brasilia, and they have a huge nightlife in Brasilia. As in Washington D.C., they go there. Most of the people go there. I mean, the politicians from Monday to Thursday and come back. So
I went there when I was 17 to come here to get the visa,
Mm.
and I stayed there for 4 days.
No.
It's a beautiful town. It's like plain. It's
Yeah.
all plain. So it's very different than where I came from. So it was really nice, really beautiful over there. I like it a lot. It's a lot of people. It's more than 1 million people there
Oh.
already. So it's a great town there.
Karina, what do you think about the Olympics going to Brazil? There's a lot of noise being made about this bad disease that people are being affected by mosquitoes, and there has been some talk about trying to change it from Brazil to. I don't know where they want to change it to. Just want to postpone it. What are your thoughts? You've been listening to all that stuff.
I don't think they should postpone like any sort of event. I think it actually, I don't know if it really does the country any good right now, but other than that, I think it kind of brings up the reputation of the country as in hosting such a big event, sort of the Olympics, in terms of
It's a huge
Yes.
event, huge.
it's
Oh, yeah.
worldwide, like every country, nation.
If you had a vote, what would you vote to go or not to go?
I would go.
you would go.
It would be a good experience.
Well, my granddaughter's going. She's going to cover it for the Wall Street Journal. So,
That's awesome.
Oh, that's nice.
but it's been suggested that her husband not go though because this virus is a virus, right? It
Yeah, Zika virus.
Zika virus, yeah.
affects men in more ways than it does women.
I think it's more under control now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was really
especially
bad
you're going
months
to
ago.
you're going to pretty much Rio. I think
Right.
it's more concentrated to the north
Yeah,
of the
to the
country,
north,
and having like a person like Paul Gasol, NBA star, standing up saying like, "Oh man, I'm going to boycott the Olympics."
Are they boycotting?
Because he stood up. I think it was yesterday on CNN covered it. I think ESPN also covered, saying that he was thinking of not going because of the Zika virus. Like that's going to affect his point average. He's in the end of his career, averaging 16 points a game, where he used to average about 22 to 25. So to have a guy saying that it's going to affect him because that's going to be in his mind, or he's already in the end of his career, it won't affect him at all. But
What would you vote?
I would definitely go.
You definitely go.
Definitely go.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I was just there in December in Rio.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Okay.
Rio's the most beautiful place I've ever seen.
Okay.
Is if it
How many
wasn't,
places have you seen? Let's go there.
let's go. I've been to Canada. I've been to Europe.
Okay.
I've been to a couple in the Caribbean. But Rio in itself, it stands alone. If you go to the coast of Rio, the beautiful beaches. If it wasn't for the corruption, which causes a lot of chaos because a lot of people are not trusting the government. So what do? They go to the streets to steal, to do bad things, and what causes them to do it's their lack of trust in the government.
No, also going back to the Zika virus thing, it will be winter in Brazil.
It's what?
It
Winter.
will be winter in Brazil when the Olympics start, which it's going to be
It's
August.
cold, yeah.
So the
pretty much
mosquitoes,
kills all
the mosquitoes
Yeah.
are not going to be around
Yeah.
as it did during the
So
summer.
your vote would be to go too.
Sure. It's an experience of a lifetime.
Yes.
I wish they could have decided another time, but now that they spent all the money,
Yeah.
constructed
Oh, yeah.
everything, now let's do it, because it will be bad for the country if they don't do it.
And Wanderson, I understand that there are a lot of gangs in Rio,
There it is.
That's
yeah.
and a lot of fear of what these gangs do.
Yeah.
What do you know about that?
That's the other problem that we got there. I heard it like at the news, like every day, there's been killing and everything because of the drugs and everything like that. So the police, I heard like a guy, I think he's the chief of police in Rio, they're gonna reinforce it with the army on the Olympics. So they're gonna reinforce it everything to so we know to cause no problems, to try to avoid problems there. But that's a problem that we have in Brazil.
Those concerns were raised during
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
World
we
Cup,
was raised, yeah.
Yeah.
so nothing happened.
Yeah.
World Cup was a good experience, so you can see it.
Yeah.
Nothing happened.
There
Like
was
nothing bad
12
happened.
states. Now it will be 1 or 2. Minas, I think there are some soccer games too, but it will be more controllable situation.
But now you're talking. But also another thing that raises concern, because I think in the World Cup you're talking about how many, like 30 countries.
Yeah, oh
Yeah, now you're talking about 187 countries, if
Right.
not more. So
Right.
all
Summer games.
yeah, for the summer games, all concentrated in one city, where it does raise concern, but I think with everything else, the way everything was dictated during the World Cup, how they concentrated every single thing, how they also did there was the thing with the Pope.
Right.
With the
Yeah.
Pope there, where a lot of countries were there, also from all of the South American countries, all went into Rio, I think it was, which was nothing there happened also, and you see that the problem really is not the infrastructure, but as long as they have the actual security around, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll definitely go to.
Yeah. Well, those two things are things that the press is playing up a lot.
Yeah.
The Vika and the gang
Yeah.
stuff that goes on. How do we treat the media in that respect? How do we get the media to go and look deeper into the situation and give us a different story? You're a media man.
Well, I think it's legitimate to raise concerns, but you need to go deeper than just raising it and let's see what happens. For example, when we had 170 doctors raising a concern, and then the World Health Organization came back and said, no, there's no
I
problem.
read about that, yeah.
I understand that the doctors need to talk about what they think. But I think Brazil now is a major player. It's not the little country that didn't do anything like we saw.
Uh-huh.
Brazil dropped the Copa America, which is from the soccer games for the Americas.
Uh-huh.
Brazil was to be the host in 2015, and it gave to Chile. So they know that they cannot get everything that they can handle, so they do the right way.
Mm.
But right now, the most troubling thing, in my opinion, is the political situation not get out of hand before the games, because we're going to have the final vote for the impeachment probably in July, mid to end July, to the end of
When
July.
do the games start?
August, I think it's August 2nd
That's pretty
or
close.
4th. It's pretty close. So
Yeah.
I just hope that everything goes well on the political aspect.
So what is the political horizon? What are we looking for on that vote? The impeachment, and then what?
We need, for the interim government to become permanent, they need 54 votes. And at the first vote that took the power of the president away temporarily, we had 55. So they already have the votes. But now some of the senators are talking about maybe changing their votes. So we just need 2 senators to change their vote.
To
So-
change the structure.
Right, so
Change the
the
outcome.
president come back,
Right.
Dilma Rousseff.
So,
And the reason why they're talking about it is because some of the new secretaries that the interim government appointed, they are also involved in corruption. So, and we got
We-
now
we-
a big scandal where a guy recorded,
a little back rubbing.
right, a guy recorded other politicians saying that Dilma Rousseff needs to go. We need to stop the investigation of corruption. But Dilma Rousseff needs to go. So that type of recording, even today they mentioned on the news that they're not going to include the recordings on the new vote to end the impeachment of Dilma Rousseff. So it's just a feeling that nobody's trusting the government anymore. But I
We
hope
don't know what's going to happen, right?
right, and the Brazilian families pay the price,
Yeah.
right, on the economy.
So is there going to be an uprising if she's not kicked out?
I think
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
if she's
Well,
not
well,
kicked
If she's not kicked out,
if
yeah,
she comes back, I think would be an uprising.
Will that be violent?
Possibly,
Possibly.
potentially.
Probably.
That's not good.
no, not at all.
No.
Not
So
at
if
all.
it comes to that, and we get violence in the streets,
That's a concern. That's
how's that going to affect the Olympics?
well, it's hard to predict.
It's hard. Yeah, exactly. It's very hard to predict what will actually happen without. But like Eduardo said, with the infrastructure being well secured, I think, and everything being concentrated in Rio, you'll see demonstrations probably, if that happens, probably in São Paulo, which is the biggest city in Brazil, in Brasilia, all the other major cities. But in Rio, with the security presence all there, I think it probably would be, but it wouldn't be cause a chaos, hopefully. When it
Right.
become chaotic
And
and
the
hectic
problem
to
too is
it.
that if, let's say Dilma get kicked out, the president that is going to take, which it's Michel Temer. What we heard about him, he's not that good too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the problem. So I don't know if he's going to change the country for that.
Anybody vying for the position?
What's
Anybody
that?
trying to
No.
take
Well,
over the
not
position?
right now.
What?
Not right
No.
now, because we would have, because it's a temporary government for 2 years, right? 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Yeah, we would have election in 2018, at the end of 2018 again. So right now, on the economy part, he is appointed good people. He's appointing good people. So this part is good because the country suffers with unemployment, people are losing their jobs. So that part, I think we could agree that people should support, the new secretary.
What's the employment rate?
I would say about 10% right now. Used to be 5%.
Usually what?
5%. Now it's 10%.
The unemployment rate or
Unemployment.
unemployment rate.
Yeah. Well, you guys have made a mess.
Yeah.
It is a mess.
All your fault, particularly her. She made the best, and you guys got to clean it up.
She lives in a good part of Brazil. Yeah, one time I think their states wants to get away from Brazil and build their own country, right?
Right.
She's from the south of Brazil. They wanted to
So
build
you would
their
go.
own country.
I wouldn't go.
You would not go.
She
Oh,
would.
you were the center among the group. You would not go back to Rio, not even for the Olympics, even though there was not a riot in the street. What?
But not, I would go for the Olympics, but not to ever live there.
Okay.
No way.
Well, they need you back there to help stop the riots. The country needs leadership.
Yeah.
That's right.
I go to school for a business administration for healthcare, so I think they need me in the hospitals there, so it should be good.
Well, this has been a good discussion. Do you have anything else that you'd like to discuss about Brazil and yourselves?
I would just add that we have a vibrant community here. People who love this
How
country.
many people are there here, Kenny? Any estimates?
We just have estimates about 200,000 to 300,000 here in Massachusetts.
Here in the state alone?
Yeah,
Okay.
but in the whole
Where's
country.
the concentration?
Mostly Somerville, Framingham, Everett,
Okay.
Medford,
Somerville. Okay.
Alston, Brighton,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marlborough, Brockton, Stoughton. Those are all cities.
Yeah,
and
which
towns.
is the biggest of those concentrations?
I would say Framingham and Somerville and Everett.
Framingham.
Yeah.
Everett as well.
And what attracted? I understand that Brazilians are getting a lot of businesses
Right.
in Framingham now.
That's true.
That's
What possessed so many people to go to Framingham, for instance,
What?
as opposed to? I know that they're spread
Oh,
out.
Attracts people to Framingham?
Yeah.
I would say family and friends.
Yeah.
People go where the family's members are, but we have a lot of business in Framingham,
Yeah,
restaurants and.
Is there a lot of melding into society, or do people come with their heritage and live in what we call ghettos and never get out of the ghetto, and they never intertwine with the rest of the communities?
I would say that it's easier to assimilate when you go to a town like Framingham or Everett, because you see a lot of
Yeah.
your people,
Yeah.
and to eat your food and things like that.
The culture, yeah.
But now we're going through a second generation where people are getting married here, having kids here, and
Exactly.
their kids are dating American kids. So we are going through a second wave.
Yeah.
say.
What you see today is basically like it's a whole new generation that's growing, Brazilian generation that is growing up here, which Eduardo was saying, like the sons and daughters of Brazilians who came to the U.S. to look for a better opportunity. Now their kids are all grown up and marrying people who are from American or who are Indian,
Right.
who are
Other communities.
European. So it's all a mixture right
I
now.
would imagine the older generation has a great deal of difficulty in assimilating.
At the beginning,
Is that true?
Yeah, in the beginning, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And how did your parents move into this new world, this new environment?
My parents?
Yeah.
No, they live in Brazil still. I came here and I stay with my sisters, so they come on and off.
Yeah, but did they have difficulty adjusting to?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's why they don't adapt here. They just came here to visit.
So you have a better perspective because you were a teenager.
Yeah, I was like 17
You could
and I
tell
went to high school.
make the distinction.
Yeah, I learned the language, but they come here, they like a fish out of water. They go to the Framingham, which is a lot of Brazilians, like he said, so they feel more comfortable, but still it's not like their home. So they prefer to go back. But I already got used to here, so.
Did they go back?
Yeah, they go back.
They did?
Go. Yeah.
They go back and forth.
Back and forth, yeah.
That's expensive.
Yeah, she's coming. My mom's coming right now. Tell me about it. She's coming now next month because I'm gonna have a daughter.
Build a house with that money.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a daughter now. So my mom's coming in next month now to help me out.
That's nice.
How did your parents? You were too young to understand that, but did they ever talk about how they survived this new environment?
Yeah, my mom, she tells me all the time when she first came here, she's like, what is this place? Like, this is nothing like Brazil. Like, everything here is so much different because we're used to more like tropical place, like palm trees, like more like Florida, right?
None of that here.
None of that here.
No.
And so, like, she said that in the beginning was very hard because she didn't learn how to speak English and going into places not with anybody here because I think back then the Brazilian community wasn't as big as it is today.
Yeah.
So back then it was
Especially.
a lot harder to find someone who spoke Portuguese or who, you know, even conversate with you to understand you. So she said that both my parents say that it was really hard to just get, you know, your daily, you know, things done, like, you know, because there's nobody to help out. There's just like, you have to kind of
No support group.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the early 90s, my parents tell me, like, when we got here in 1990, the population of Portuguese and Brazilian-speaking people were, it was growing. There were more people from Portugal than there were people from Brazil back in the early 90s. So, and everybody was concentrated basically in the cities of Alston, Brighton, and Somerville. It was basically there. This is back then in the early 90s. And I remember my parents telling me, like, when they wanted to cook like Brazilian type of food, they would go into a Mexican grocery store because there are similarities in the culture in certain foods. So they were going to a Mexican store to buy like a certain type of rice, a certain type of beans and that stuff.
And you were a little older when you came here.
Right, I was 26.
So
Yeah, I decided to come.
you decided to come.
Yeah, I decided to come. And I actually have an interesting perspective. My mother married an American veteran back in 2011.
How did you end up in Brazil?
They actually met via the internet and started talking. My mother widowed in 2006. My father passed away. And 2011, a sister-in-law I have here, she said that my mother should meet a guy that she met, like older guy. And they started chatting on Facebook, and then they started dating when she came here. And he went there once in 2014, I think, and he liked it a lot over there. So, yeah.
And you never came back?
No, they're living here now. They live in New Hampshire, in Hillsborough, New Hampshire.
And so she didn't have a lot of problems assimilating.
No, she didn't. She
he probably had people here that he knew.
Right. She had come a lot of times, visited like 10 times before she met him. And we talk a lot about politics because he's a Republican, and he doesn't tell me. He doesn't tell me that, but he is. I can feel
I shouldn't laugh at Republicans.
Everything's chaotic for them right now. So.
And your people, how did you were too young to understand what was going on.
Yeah, basically, what my parents say was basically that it was growing population of Brazilians in the U.S. at that time, and it was Brazilians would either come to Boston or concentrate in Newark or in Florida, in the state of Florida, but it was basically pretty much that.
I thought the southern states would be more suitable for people who come from warmer climates.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But they come north. I never understood that. I don't think if I'm coming from a warm climate that I'm going to go north. Not.
And we get used to it. You know, we get
Well,
used
you
to it.
know, you go where your friends are and people that you know and that
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were about to quit a few minutes ago. And we got into this. This is good. This is good stuff. Okay. But I want to thank you. And again, unless you have something else to say, I'm going to say good night to my public. And a good night to you. I am Richard S. McGhee. You're watching The Learning Tree. Stay with us. Look at all of our stuff that we got on the air now, about 60-some programs. And we want you to give us some feedback every once in a while. Good stuff. Good feedback. Good night.